It's been nearly a decade and a half since Danganronpa first graced us with its presence, starting with, of course, the video games on the PSP, to spin-offs, a crappy anime adaptation, 2 anime-only seasons, a manga, a stage play. It's almost an understatement to say that it spread like wildfire, and to this day you can hardly find a YouTube comment section that doesn't have somebody with a Nagito Komayada profile picture. Heck, it's been 8 years since we pretty much got any real Danganronpa content. Ultimate Summer Camp doesn't count. There's still a pretty substantial online community. There are 2 other Danganronpa fans in my PE class alone, and if either of you watch the channel, please talk to me, I'm lonely. Suffice to say, we know pretty much everything there is to know about the series. We have the full picture, right? That's what I had initially thought, until by complete coincidence I stumbled upon something. No, someone so obscure that I don't even know if I have their name right. Or any of their names, because they have a good handful. The story of this character runs deep, spanning most of the main Danganronpa series, but let's start at the very beginning, shall we? Born May 17th, 1950 to an almost normal family, he faced an extremely tough life right from the beginning, with several debilitating birth defects. He was born without a mouth, a bowl-ass haircut, and a very weak immune system, along with a ton of food allergies. So many, in fact, that he was able to eat exactly 3 things: cheese sandwiches, grape soda snow cones, and human corpses. He's also an avid sleepwalker. According to one source who helped me to research for this video, his father may have been Jack Leon Ruby, and I am hesitant to accept this as fact, especially considering Jack was not known to have married or had children. But this idea is further corroborated by a separate source, with the age of his father, 56, matching Jack's exactly at his time of death, so maybe it's true. His mother is unnamed, as well as his 2 siblings, a brother and a sister. He inherited his weak immune system from his father's side, which was particularly bad because of a virus that broke out. The virus spread around the mid-1960s when he was about 17, and with them brought many deaths. The reason there is no documentation or record of this virus is because everyone who knew about it either died or forgot. The boy was the first of many to contract the virus, and from there, he spread it to his father. His father died, possibly of unrelated reasons. The Wikipedia page for Jack says he died of a pulmonary embolism, so who knows? Regardless, his father's death ruined his mother, and the rest of his family would slowly fall as well. First, his brother, and after a struggle, his mother finally succumbed. His sister refused to yield to the virus and passed on her own terms, leaving him alone. His name is Saitou Otonashi. At least, that's what I've determined his name of choice to be. We still don't know his birth name or some of his later names he went by. After the deaths of his family, Saitou appears to have moved to Japan and taken this name as a way to escape from his past life. From about 1970 to 1992, Saitou lived in Japan, trying to rebuild his life. In these 24 years, Saitou did several things, including but not limited to founding McDonald's, discovering his love for drawing sexy Bill Cipher fan art, and winning a grape soda snow cone eating contest, staining his tongue permanently purple after eating 60 snow cones in 4 minutes. I'm not sure how he did this, because he has no mouth, but I guarantee this is canon. He also found an immense love for American musician Will Wood, and can perfectly sing every single one of his songs, which is extremely impressive, since Will Wood was a newborn at the time. He absolutely hates apples and loves apple pie, and he sleeps with his nightlight on. None of that is ever relevant again, but with the very little we know about him, I think it's worth a mention. In 1992, at the age of 41, he got married to a woman he met, and in 1994 they had 2 children, a pair of twins. His wife died in childbirth, leaving Saitou to raise the twins on his own. In his despair of losing the one he loved once again, he took this chance to get with another woman who was cheating on her own husband. This woman would gaslight her husband into thinking the child was in fact his for the rest of their lives until their untimely deaths later on. At least their second child was his, or at least not Saitou's. Raising his own 2 children, Saitou decided that the younger twin, whose name we don't know, but it might be Ryoko, was the favorite, and eventually ditched the older twin somewhere in France with a gang of mercenaries while on vacation. He raised Ryoko on her own through most of her teenage years, however it was clear that Saitou was not in a good mental state. He was subtly corrupting the very impressionable young Ryoko into becoming more like him. A complete wreck. He signed her up for modeling gigs where she took up the infamous alias Junko Enoshima. When Junko was around 17, she was scouted for the prestigious Hope's Peak Academy. It's here where she reunited with her twin sister, now called Mukuro, and we know the rest from here. Junko and Mukuro converged to spread despair across the globe by orchestrating at least 4 killing games throughout this whole debacle, causing the apocalypse and more or less ending the world. Also, Yasuke is here. I wouldn't have mentioned him, but I think it's a very real possibility he's the Despair twins' first cousin once removed. Adding that one to the family tree. What was previously unknown to us is that it was Saitou who caused them to commit all these crimes, partaking in the chaos under the alias Zetsubo Masaku. The killing games, executions, ultimate despair as a whole, and the despair disease were all Saitou's ideas, and Monokuma was Saitou's OC that Junko stole. He was also behind all of Nagito's suffering because he thought Nagito was the son he left with that woman for and desperately wanted him dead. Wrong, lucky student. Saitou would take a nap and accidentally slept through the first two major killing games, his son Makoto's and Hajime Hinata's. He wasn't doing nothing during this time though, and was present in both. Saitou had been experimenting with the despair disease and had briefly implemented a prototype within himself for testing purposes. This early despair disease turned his skin gray and also worsened his chronic sleepwalking as well as his murderous and cannibalistic tendencies. Saitou wandered both settings and in his sleep possibly assisted in committing several murders, however that detail is also not known for certain. During the final trial of the Hope's Peak killing game, Saitou was in the biolab eating each of the dead bodies to dispose of them. Saitou's actions in the following months are unknown, and by the events of Danganronpa 2, Saitou is still asleep, sleepwalking, in very gray and naked. Inside the Neo World program, he does the same as he did in the previous, however he is kicked out of the program by the Junko virus in the 6th chapter, and wakes up in the real world. Saitou chooses to lay low for the rest of the Hope's Peak arc, and instead of continuing with his terrorism, gets a job at 7-Eleven. But this is not the end of Saitou's involvement with the killing games, far from it. The school life of mutual killing had been broadcast to the entire world, and it was, at this time, the most popular television show in the world ever. A man in Japan was inspired and even made a video game series based off of it, and an anime adaptation was in the works. This phenomenon, named by that man Danganronpa, was unrivaled. Saitou knew he was sitting on a gold mine. It didn't matter what his original goal with the killing game was, there was room for so much profit with the concept. Saitou wasted no time in putting together a new killing game. While that Japanese man worked on adapting the story of the tragedy, Saitou set his sights on a fresh start. The name of this new season would be called Next Danganronpa 4, Despair Beyond Hope. In this new game, 16 new students faced off in a battle royale just like the previous ones, but unlike those, this game was entirely volunteers, composed of fans of the show. Also different from the previous games, Saitou participated himself in this game, creating a new identity of Kanganushi Tsukatsukasa, the ultimate mortician. He and the other participants had their memories erased willingly, and the game was put on air shortly after. It was a smashing success. The game contained 5 full cases. In the 5th chapter, Saitou, believing he was Kanganushi, killed Maisie Hawthorne, the ultimate candy maker, in a heated argument. He used his knowledge of the dead to clear his name and frame someone else. This was the first season of Danganronpa in which a blackened won the game, and the viewers ate up every second of it. After being returned his memories, Saitou made haste to cast for the next season. Over the next century, Saitou saw over 50 killing games. Saitou participated in several of the games himself, with his most notable roles being as the ultimate window fixer, with his ability to fix windows so refined he can mend one just by looking at it, and later as the ultimate salaryman. When he wasn't a participant, he often controlled Monokuma from behind the scenes. In the time between seasons, Saitou worked at the 7-Eleven and also became certified as a dentist. In each season, Saitou made cameos in the background, such as one of Celestia's butlers in the Danganronpa anime adaptation, or as a student in Danganronpa 3, and many other examples that we aren't familiar with. He briefly played the role of the embalmer in a Danganronpa Identity V collaboration. Despite having played the role, he still has no idea what Identity V is. Around the year 2095, Saitou tried his hand at marriage again since his last one, and did poorly. Saitou had 2 more children with a new woman, however the older sister of the pair got COVID and coughed on him, spreading it to him for approximately the rest of his life. In retaliation, he slowly killed the girl via poison and neglected his other son. This child will be relevant again. He also had another affair in his Kokichi's secret father. Neither of the current living children know this. Team Danganronpa had become massive, and this meant that Saitou was permitted more free time as the team did much of the heavy lifting. About 18 years after abandoning those kids because he didn't want to raise them, Saitou went back to complete school around the time of the 50th season of Danganronpa. He met Shuichi at a mandatory attendance sports event at the middle school that they both went to, and due to random pairings, they were paired together. Shiro Tokumoto and Takumi Igarashi were paired together. The 2 pairs quickly became good friends. Saitou and Shuichi used to bond over their hatred of romance dramas where they downplayed divorce. Ichiro bullies them about this shared interest. Absolute besties, the four of them. During their high school years, two major events happen. First, meteors fell, which kinda sucked. Second, Saitou participated in Danganronpa 52, Monokuma in space as the ultimate meth cook. This may have very well been a fatal mistake for Saitou. This season sparked Shuichi's love for Danganronpa as he cheered his friend on in the game. The game concludes with Saitou and Rentaro Amami, the ultimate adventurer, as the sole surviving pair. Rentaro was made to participate in the next season while Saitou returned to his life outside. But things weren't the same. When Shuichi discovered Danganronpa, he was instantly hooked. It's not an overstatement to say that he quickly turned into a Danganronpa fanatic. He loved Danganronpa more than anything. Saitou began to resent Danganronpa because of this. Even though he had spent a century on the series, he had finally found one good friend and a reason to live outside of his work, only to lose them to his own creation. Shuichi was so normal until he found that blasted franchise. Why? Why did he want to sacrifice everything to erase his mind, his personality, just to be in that game? Anyone else could do that, but Saitou couldn't let Shuichi. If it were up to Saitou, he would refuse Shuichi, but Danganronpa had become bigger than him. The woman in charge of casting was exactly the type to take in Shuichi, but winning her over was Saitou's only chance to save him. Saitou signed up for Danganronpa 53 just to make sure Shuichi wouldn't die. He loved him too much. What he didn't expect was Shuichi to go as far as to poison him before his audition day. That determination is why Shuichi was chosen for Danganronpa 53. The most Saitou could do was get a supporting role in Shuichi's memory. He could at least say goodbye to Shuichi in this way. He also learns that Kokichi and Kareki are still alive, and also participants, but Saitou didn't care. Saitou teams up with Tsumugi as the mastermind to keep an eye on Shuichi around this time, and has her rig up the game so as to not kill Shuichi. He also gave Tsumugi the idea of Kibo and all his stuff that made an interactive audience. He got the idea from observing Twitter. He controls the Monokuma units and was secretly controlling Tsumugi through a miniature Monokuma he had planted in her brain during Chapter 6. The game continued as it always has. And Shuichi won, and Shuichi shunned whomever was at the helm of this game, and something in Saitou snapped. After over a century of struggle, so many years of orchestrating the killing game, death game after death game, corpses piling up by the dozen, Saitou finally broke. Following the disbandment of Team Danganronpa following Danganronpa V3, Saitou goes insane. Just a shell of a man, he marches on with a single goal. Find Shuichi. Finish what he started, take revenge on his only friend, and now, his greatest adversary. Saitou wandered the world for nearly 6,000 years with this goal in mind, before accidentally being drafted into a war where at last he meets his end. Saitou would be reincarnated into what I believe is a parallel universe, that being this one, as ShrugMoji, amassing hundreds of thousands of subscribers on YouTube, but he's not an immortal psychopath like Saitou, so I don't think I need to cover Shrug's life story. That would make this video weirder than it already is, but Saitou's story goes deeper, much deeper. This is a video that I've wanted to make for a very long time, but when I say that finding info on this dude is much easier said than done, I mean it. I've spent over 9 years researching, and I'm confident in saying I've only uncovered maybe half of Saitou's tale at most. I wish I could go deeper, but I've hit a dead end. I've read the entire internet, but I've simply found everything there is to be found. Much of what was uncovered for this video was uncovered by normal viewers like you. Heck, I'm sure some of you are watching this video right now. My point is, in able to fully understand Saitou Otonashi, I need the combined effort of all of us as a community. I know how much I know how much Classmate 3 means to all of us. Not really, I'm not making a sequel. This was fun for a while, but the timeline was hard to put together, especially considering some of the strange stuff in the comments under the Give Classmate 3 lore post. This is all extremely canon to Danganronpa, I promise you. Subscribe, okay, love you, bye.